Nation, and welcome to the show where we help you to play miniatures wargaming on a budget. It is I, Commander Cheapskate, and we're back in an episode of Way of the Underhive. This series is dedicated to helping brand new players to Necromunda build their starting rosters and learn more about the game mechanics of their favorite gangs. And on today's episode, we'll discuss playing a Helot Chaos Cult in the Aranthian Succession. We will discuss the positive and negative aspects of playing in this campaign setting, the impact that the campaign setting has on Helot Chaos Cults specifically. We'll also discuss alliances, brutes, hangers-on, hired guns, and also provide you a 2,400 point starting roster that you can use in your very first campaign. Not only that, but we'll also provide information about how you can play this gang on the tabletop with our Tabletop Tactics, and also talk about how you can develop this gang as your campaign proceeds. So that being said, this video will be a little bit more of a deeper dive, so if you're looking for a particular part of this video, you can take a look at the timestamps in the description box down below, so that way you can navigate to the part that is of most interest to you. So the question that has to be asked is, why play Helot Chaos Cultists? And the reason why is one word: chaos. That's why, because everybody loves playing part of the chaos lore of Warhammer 40,000, as well as all the different materials that Games Workshop has put together. Not to mention, Chaos Gangs actually have a lot of cool power with a lot of interesting buffs that they receive from their deities. There's a lot of cool things happening with your demagogues, with your leaders. Plus, the gangs also have really good access to good powerful weapons, cheap fighters, and because they have the blessings of the Chaos Gods, which is always a fun thing to have in a Necromunda setting. So that being said, let's go ahead and talk about the positive and negatives of playing in the Aranthian Succession. So first of all, let's talk about the positives of playing in the Aranthian Succession. You get anywhere between 2,000 to 2,400 credits to start your gang. If you're staying in the Underhive, you get 2,000 credits. If you're venturing out to the wastelands of Ash Waste, you get 2,400 credits instead, and you can spend 4 of those credits for mounted fighters as well as vehicles. Now, when a lot of novice players look at that increased point value, a lot of novice players think what you have to do is get a gang and double the size of your starting gangs. Now, you could do that if you want to. There's nothing wrong with that, but if that's a concern for you, I would suggest you go for a quality of build rather than a quantity build. What I mean by that is you create a normal sized gang like you usually do, but you fully equip that gang with everything they need to be successful. Give them vehicles, weapons, war gear, armor, exotic beasts, war gear that can really help them out, all kinds of things to kind of help balance out your gang so that way they can take on anything that's out there. What this is going to do is going to allow you to create a really huge flexibility and a variety of builds where you can actually build some really interesting gangs with some really interesting game mechanics with different equipment sets and etc. So that's just something you want to take in consideration when playing in the Aranthian Succession. Now, once again, there are some negatives of playing in the Aranthian Succession. First of all, the balance bandwagon might have a heyday with this. Unfortunately, not every single gang in Necromunda receive benefits from the Aranthian Succession, so because of that, if you are playing against somebody who didn't receive those benefits, they might complain. But seeing as you're playing a Helot Chaos Cultist, you're one of the gangs that didn't receive any benefits from the Aranthian Succession, so that should not be a problem for you. But then again, the balance bandwagon, they lurk in the shadows, they hide in the alleyways, and they will spring any kind of reason they can onto you to explain why they're playing so weak. At the same time, another thing you got to worry about as well is that the Aranthian Succession is pretty narrative heavy, so if you're not into narrative gameplay, that could be kind of a turnoff for you, so just keep that in mind. Just be aware that it's very narrative focused, and if you're not into narrative gameplay, I suggest you might go on to a different campaign setting. Now let's go ahead and talk about the Helot Chaos Cult and how they're impacted by the campaign setting. First of all, you have to choose between which Chaos God you want to work with, whether it's the Blood God, Plague Lord, Dark Prince, or the Architect of Fate. Depending on which of these Chaos deities you decide to align your gang with, you're going to get different abilities as well as benefits from those. For example, if you go with the Dark Prince, you can do another set of 2 fighter activations as group activations every turn, which could be extremely invaluable. Or if you're the Architect of Fate, for example, you can automatically reroll a missed hit with one of your weapons, for example, or get psychic abilities. So whatever the type of gameplay you like to engage in, keep that in mind when you build your list. Now, another thing you need to be aware of is that in the Aranthian Succession, you can actually double the number of champions in your gangs, which is kind of nice because this means you also get double the amount of cult witches as well as double the amount of cult disciples, which could be really powerful for your gang. Just realize though, even though you do have the double number of champions you can have in a gang, just realize you do have to balance it out with the other types of fighters in your gang due to gang composition rules, so just keep that in mind if you decide to take advantage of that double champion aspect. Another really cool thing about the Helot Chaos Cults is that you have access to mutations in place of lasting injuries. So if any of your fighters do suffer lasting injuries, you could use mutations instead, which could have some positive as well as negative benefits. So keep that in mind. And another thing you gotta worry about too is that because you're a Helot Chaos Cultist, you're automatically an outlaw with all the rules that apply with that designation for your gang. So do keep that in mind as well. Now, when it comes to your alliances, because you're an outlaw gang automatically, that means you can only make criminal alliances only for the most part. So because of that, that's going to be a thing you got to worry about as well. So when it comes to your criminal alliances, I do feel that the Fallen Houses or the Imperial Posters would actually be the best fit for your gang, especially if you decide to go with criminal alliances as well. Fallen Houses are great because you get a powerful fighter as well as massive buffs to income. More often than not, you will be fighting against law-abiding gangs or enforcers or gangs that are allied with noble or merchant guilds, so you do have that going for you, so you can get a lot of credits that way as well. Now, Imperial Posters are kind of nice too, because not only do you get a good fighter, but you could also manipulate the outlaw status on gangs as well, so that might be something that might be interesting to you as well. Now, if you're not interested in any of the criminal alliances, you still have the ability to actually take noble house alliances, which is also kind of nice. So if you're looking for something a little bit more spicy with something interesting with noble houses, you could also make those alliances too if you want. Now, when it comes to your brutes, hangers-on, as well as your hired guns, obviously the Rogue Doc is the best hanger-on you can actually get for your gang. Just in case you do roll a critical injury with one of your fighters, this guy could be a lifesaver for your guy. Rogue Docs are worth their weight in gold, so I always recommend going with those guys if you can. And because you're an outlaw gang, that means you can only take outlaw brutes, hanger-ons, as well as hired guns as well, so do keep that in mind. There's a lot of interesting things that you can get in a gang based on those brutes. For example, the Mutated Ogryn is actually a lot of fun, and if you actually own the Blooded Kill Team from Games Workshop's Kill Team series, you actually get that with your gang already, so you already have a brute that you could use in your future campaigns as well. So let's go and talk about your starting roster. This is your 2,400 point starting roster for the Helot Chaos Cults for the Aranthian Succession. This is going to be worth 2,395 credits for your gang, and you're going to be dedicated to the Architect of Fate, which is basically this niche chaos gang is for the most part. Now, your demagogue is going to be leader of your gang at 240 credits. This fighter is actually equipped kind of basically. They have mesh armor as well as a last gun with a chain sword. They also have auto pistols, man stopper rounds for that strength 4 attack. They also have a chaos familiar as well, so that way they can get that extra buff from being shot with ward saves, as well as rerolls on psychic abilities as well. They have a cult icon to give them a larger group activation with their commanding presence, meaning they'll be able to activate 4 fighters just with that alone. And you give them the telepathy discipline skill because they automatically come with a psychic power. They're going to have the fuel for aura, which is going to make it harder for your opponents to shoot at your character, as well as unbreakable will, so that way you can transport, you could actually use your cool and willpower stats for your fighters in range. That's going to be kind of nice. You can use that as a substitute. After that, you're going to have a Cult Witch. It's going to cost you 165 credits. This fighter's got mesh armor as well as a servo claw, as well as an auto pistol and man stopper rounds. They also have a chaos familiar as well for that additional rerolls for their psychic abilities and additional saves with that ward save that they provide. This person's got the fixture skill, so that way they get D3 times 10 credits at the end of every turn, and also got the telekinesis ability. They're going to give them the Fist of Fury ability, where their unarmed attacks have double strength and damage, and they have the Force Shield ability, so that way they can put out force fields and increase armor saves for your gang. After that, you have 2 Cult Disciples. Disciple number 1 is going to cost 250 credits. This guy's got mesh armor as well as a flamer. You're also equipped this guy with auto pistol man stopper rounds and give him a chaos familiar, so that way they get that additional ward save and nerves of steel, so that way if they get hit, they can pass a cool test to escape pinning. As well as Cult Disciple number 2 is going to cost you 185 credits. This fighter's got mesh armor as well as a grenade launcher with frag and crack grenades, an auto pistol man stopper rounds for backup weapon, a chaos familiar for that additional armor save from the ward save, as well as overwatch skills, so that way they can interrupt your enemy activations with grenade launcher fire. You'll then have a Helot Chaos Specialist. It's going to cost you 140 credits. This fighter's got mesh armor for that fire up armor save, as well as a long rifle with infra sights for that long range shooting. They have an auto pistol man stopper rounds for a backup weapon, as well as a specialist ability. Then you have 2 Helot Chaos Cultists who are going to cost you 120 credits. The first guy is going to have mesh armor with auto pistol man stopper rounds, as well as axe and blasting charges. Helot Cultist number 2 is going to cost you 125 credits. This fighter's got mesh armor, as well as auto pistol man stopper rounds, a sword, as well as blasting charges. Helot Cultist number 3 is going to cost you 140 credits. This guy's got mesh armor, auto pistol man stopper rounds, as well as a double-handed hammer and blasting charges. Helot Cultist number 4 is going to cost you 130 credits. This guy's got mesh armor, as well as a shotgun with solid and scatter ammo, with an auto pistol man stopper rounds as a backup weapon, as well as frag grenades. Helot Cultist number 5 is going to cost you 115 credits. They have mesh armor with a last gun with auto pistol man stopper rounds, as well as a frag grenade. And same thing with Helot Cultist number 6, who's going to be equipped exactly the same way. Now you're going to have a brute in this gang. That brute's going to be a mutated ogre, and it's going to cost you 275 credits. This fighter's got furnace plates as well as a power maul with horrific appendages. They also got the murderous brute skill with giving them nerves of steel as well as slow-witted as well as true grit special rules as well. And then finally you have a scum racer, it's going to cost you 395 credits. This fighter's going to have a custom heavy vehicle with tracks so that way you can deal with difficult terrain. It's also going to have a crash cage as well as a transport bed for your crew, all-wheel steering as well as nitro burners for 1+ up for handling and +1 for speed, a boarding ramp so that we get +1 to your initiative to order board enemy vehicles, as well as a heavy stubber as well. Now your alliance for this one is going to be with the Fallen Houses, and the reason why is because you have the Rebellion benefit, which states that if you win a game against a law-abiding gang, you earn D6 times 10 credits, and if you win against an enforcer or a gang allied with merchant or noble alliances, you get plus 2d6 times 10 credits. Then you also get access to the Rebel Lord, which is also be included the fighting against an enforcer gang or any gang that's aligned with merchants, allied with merchants or nobles. Now you do have some drawbacks you have for the cost, which means that if challenged by an enforcer gang or a gang allied with noble houses or merchants, you must accept it no matter what. And you also have the Ancient Oath drawback, which means you must donate D3 times 10 credits, must be paid to the alliance at the end of the battle or test the alliance. This will be mitigated a little bit by your witch's fixture skill, so that should help kind of balance things out. Now, for your Noble Lord, you're actually going to take Lady Credo, the Rebel Lord, the special character, because you can take her as a Rebel Lord if you want to. She has light carapace armor with a fracture field. She's got a mastercrafted last pistol as well as a mastercrafted power saber. She has dodge, iron will, as well as parry. She has Air of the Outlands, which is going to make her really great to get those psychological stats for a lot of your fighters, as well as Sinistrous and Dexterous, which are service skulls that give her 360-degree field of view. And that's going to make up your list for this one. Now, as for your tabletop tags on this one, you're going to have several fire teams. Assault Fire Team number 1 is going to consist of your Demagogue, Helot Cultist number 1, 2, and 3. The Assault Fire Team number 2 is going to consist of Lady Credo, as well as Cult Disciple number 1 and Helot Cultist number 4. You have Assault Fire Team number 3, which is going to consist of your Cult Witch, as well as your Mutated Ogrin. You're then going to have 2 Support Fire Teams, Cult Disciple number 2, as well as your Helot Cultist Specialist, as well as Support Fire Team number 2 with Helot Cultist number 5, 6, as well as your Scum Racer. Now, the entire gang is mounted on the custom heavy vehicle, and you head towards the enemy as quickly as possible. Support Fire Teams number 1 and 2 lay down suppressive fire with the enemy's main body using heavy stubbers, last guns, as well as using the grenade launcher as well to interrupt your enemy's activations. Meanwhile, Assault Fire Teams number 1, 2, and 3 dismount and surround the enemy. I would suggest taking your first assault team with your Demagogue, and those guys armed with blasting charges. They take point to allow blasting charges at your enemy. Assault Fire Team number 2, led by Lady Credo, flanks the left-hand side with the Flamer, and then Assault Fire Team number 3 can go the other direction with the Ogrin, and then kind of surround your opponents, swarm them, engage them in close combat, and finish them off. Now, as for your gang development on this one, as the campaign develops, purchase photo goggles as well as respirators for the entire gang, so that way they can deal with all the environmental effects of visibility as well as toxicity, which is going to really help your gang out to survive in the Aranthian Succession. You also might want to upgrade the last guns with hotshot last packs for reliable strength for shooting attacks, and also keep your gang's gear kind of basic. And the reason why is because you can recruit more cult witches and disciples as the campaign develops, and use the campaign game mechanic to your advantage, getting those double sets of champions, equipping them with better weapons as time goes on, and just keep gear kind of simple, because after all, if you lose a Helot Chaos Cultist, they're very easy to replace with additional fighters. And that's how your gang will develop as the campaign progresses. So in conclusion, upgrading your gang to fully equip it with good weapons, war gear, vehicles, and equipment is a great way to do so with the Aranthian Succession, because you get 2,000 to 2,400 credits to do so. And like I said before, always focus with a quality versus quantity build when it comes to your gang. Always just focus on a small group of fighters, but give them everything they need to be successful in your campaign. And because new content could be dropping for the Aranthian, not for the Aranthian Succession, but for Necromunda, and the reason why is because at the end of the third Aranthian Succession book, they did talk about Hive Secundus, which is a hive that was actually contaminated with Xenos. So there might be some new stuff on the horizon coming soon for cult gangs. So gangs like the Corpse Grinder cults, the Gene Stealer cults, as well as the Helot cultists. Some cool stuff might be dropping down the pike, and if anything new comes up from that, I'll of course make videos to talk about how you can help yourselves out with that. So that's going to do it for this one, you guys. As always, please feel free to like, comment, and or subscribe. Your guys' input is invaluable to us as always. Also check us out on Facebook, Instagram, as well as blog.com for all the latest greatest hobby news related to this channel. That's good for those of you guys. We'll catch you guys next one. Peace out and stay classy.